Hey everyone, so my name's Patrick. I'm going to be showcasing the Europa Universalis, the price of power today. What I've got set up is a four-player game. Me playing as the French, and then we've got three of the bots. And I wanted to show off some of the bots for this game. I think they're really quite something. I really think they're really cool. So basically, if you want to play by yourself, it's a 1 to 6 player game. It does have a good solo play variant, but you can also mix these in seamlessly. If you want to do a 5 player game, but you've only got 3 players, so you can mix into the bots, so you can do certain scenarios like that. And then maybe certain scenarios will be set up specifically for solo play with bots. So yeah, the plan here is that we're going to go over kind of the basic mechanics of the game, if you're not familiar with those, and then kind of go over a tutorial on the bot mechanics themselves. They're quite in-depth bots. If you're familiar with certain GMT games, there is a certain similarity in that you're following these flow charts. The base flow chart is up here. You can see how it's kind of going to bounce around between these separate charts with a colonize action, siege, defend, event. So you're going to be bouncing between all these separate flow charts. You got some specific rules on how they handle events. So you do really have quite a robust system here that is not going to be too predictable for players to plan around. It does engage with almost every mechanic in the game. So if you're, kind of disappointed by certain games where the bots are really kind of cheating and cutting a lot of the corners, you're not really going to get that with this game, which I think is a great plus to it. So just as an overview on Europa Universalis Price of Power, if you're not familiar with it, this game is based on Paradox Interactive's U4, or Europa Universalis 4. It's a 4X historical game that can be played between 1 to 6 players. And you're going to be taking the reins of one realm in Europe or the Middle East, North Africa. And you're going to be taking those through between the periods of 1444 and 1820. Now, not every scenario is going to cover that entire time setting. You can, of course, play for that entire duration. It's going to take a long time, especially with 6 players, but I think it's a lot of fun. Or they have a lot more, scenarios that are specific. The one we're playing today is a very simple scenario. It just involves the factions of Castile, France, Austria, and England. And it goes for the first 2 ages of the game. There are 4 ages. Ages 1 and 2 will cover you from 1444 up until about 1618. And we're going to be saying that we have for some real specific events. So, if we go over the basics of the map here, the main board you'll see, it has mostly, it's about North Africa, Europe, a little bit of the Middle East over here. I'm not sure. I think this is technically all Europe here. And then the way that the distant continents are handled here for exploration, it's simplified from the main map, of course, but you see that we can go pretty much anywhere we can go in EU4. We can go here. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is just about the entirety of the planet, except maybe the poles, as in North and South Pole, not Poland. The map itself, we've got divided into land and sea zones. The white lines divide the different land areas, and sometimes the lines have little triangles on them. This is to depict mountain passes, which affect movement into hostile areas. One of the major institutions of the time period in the video game is the Holy Roman Empire, and we can also see that this is kind of depicted in this discontinuated yellow line. Each area on the map is one of these, contained areas in the white borders. Each one of those is comprised of provinces. Like these below, you'll see these little province discs are placed on top of provinces. These are provinces without a disc on top of them. If a province has the anchor symbol down here, then that indicates a port or coastal provinces. That's why you can recruit ships, or your ships can go back into harbors. The capital of a realm on the board. So like Lorraine is the capital of Lorraine. It's a one province, but Bourgogne is the capital of Burgundy. That's underlined. So every underlined province is a capital province. Moving on. Each area on the map you'll see has a religious token. Now, at the start of the game, this is the 1444 map. The back side of this board will be a 1618 map. And on that one, you'll see that the owners of the provinces will change, and some of the religious starting areas will change. This can change throughout the course of the game. As we'll see, there are tokens over here to indicate something has become Protestant or diverse faith, for instance. But this will show, like Granada or Andalusia starts as diverse faiths. We got Muslim territories in North Africa and Middle East. Just some basic rules here, more about areas. Areas are adjacent to each other, and you can move between them. If they touch each other on land is quite simple. But for instance, a sea zone is only adjacent if so this land area is adjacent to this land area over the sea, because there's the land areas have a province with a port that connects to the same sea zone. That makes sense. So Tripolitania is adjacent to Sicily because they both have ports into the central Mediterranean. So each province on the board, you'll notice that there are smaller ones and bigger ones. So here I'm playing as France. So you notice I got some smaller ones on our smaller cities, and then the larger ones here. So on a uncontrolled province, you'll see that there's the large ones and the small ones. So if we zip on over to our player board, we'll see that we have these large discs and small discs. The large ones will give us more tax income and manpower. So this is kind of just to indicate the more centralized, more industrious, more developed areas of the board. For instance, it makes more sense that Milan is going to give you a lot more than, say, Benghazi. One of the last things on the map, you'll see that these trade nodes. So trade was kind of, is a great system in EU4. A little complicated, I know some people will say. But these trade nodes are represented on the board game as well. And you have inland nodes, and you have sea nodes. So, Saxony, Vienna, that's Champagne. These are inland nodes, and you have sea nodes. So these are where you're going to be sending your merchants. This is my merchant here. This is one of my merchants as France, and my other merchant is here. Bots do kind of engage in the trade system, but they don't use merchant tokens, so that's why only I have them down at the moment. The way that you interact with trade is you'll have, if I have my merchant here and I want to trade, I'll draw 3 cards from the trade deck, and then I will read a list of trade nodes, and then I'll get the income based on the number of ships I have protecting trade and the number of provinces I have that are on the card. Systems like that we'll get into more during the playthrough when I interact with them. We zip on over to the player boards. So we'll see that there are some missing slots here on the player board. That's where I've placed my provinces on the map from. And then looking at, this is how you track your income in terms of tax and your manpower, is that the greatest spot on the right you will take. If I take this, if I got that on the map, then I can see that I have 10 ducats worth of income on the map and 5 manpower in large provinces. So if I wanted to tally my income at the end of the round, I say, I've got 8 income and 4 manpower from here, and I've got 8 income and 4 manpower from here, so I should have a base tax income of 16 ducats, and my manpower is 8. So you can see that here at the start of the game, France starts with a combined number of 8 manpower. Yeah. Under that we do have the vassal tokens. Vassals act quite a bit simpler than you might initially think. They essentially act as almost the same as a regular province. It's not really an independent province that you have to kind of keep track of in the same way that you do EU4 through diplomacy and whatnot. These essentially act as part of your realm, just with that, you'll see that these are stacked on top of each other. So if I have 5 provinces of vassals, there's a 2 there, then that's only going to get me 3 income and 3 manpower. But if you see the same, if I had 5 provinces, then that's going to give me 5 income and 3 manpower. So like in EU4, you're only going to get a portion of the income that your vassals will give you. So it can be somewhat easier to vassalize an area on the board and keep control of it than through direct ownership, but you're not going to get as much out of it. Although you do get the same amount of manpower. That's something to keep in mind. Under that, you're going to see that we have the monarch power section. Now, monarch power is kind of the bread and butter for what we're going to use to take our actions throughout the game. You know, like here's the simple list of the actions here. We have, you know, under the green, blue, and red sections in the center of the player aid, we see administrative actions, diplomatic actions, military actions. These are most of the actions you're going to take throughout the game, and each one of those is going to require that you spend a certain amount of monarch power. So, you know, for instance, if we wanted to forge an alliance with a realm, then we're going to be spending 1, 2, 3, depending on how large the target nation is, from our player board, and we'll simply return that to our pool here once it's spent. You get monarch power sometimes through, you know, milestones or events, which we'll get to, but generally you're going to be getting the bulk of them at the end of the round step, where you're going to add up the values on your current ruler as well as any advisors you have. You'll add those two together. So the administrative one, which we'll get to card draw in a second, but that might say +2 admin at the bottom, so we would get 5 admin and then however much of the other 3. As a quick thing on rulers, you know, this is one of these startup setup cards. This is the France 1444 setup. So you're going to grab this one at the start, and it'll give you some information on how to set up your faction at the start, as well as giving you a base ruler. The rest of the contents on this ruler down here, Charles VII, is we have the X token on the portrait. That indicates that when an event is resolved, that has an X down there in the bottom right by the, you know, shattered heart symbol, that we would take a ill health token, and we would place that on our little monarch to indicate that he is dying slowly. And once you get a second token matching your portrait to come up, then they die, and you will have to replace them or suffer the consequences. The last part here, the number of dice listed, that means that we do want to send our ruler, in this case as a general in a battle, or maybe as an admiral in a sea battle, then they will contribute that many dice to the combat. Next to the leader section, we have our state religion. Yep, see there. As France, we're Catholic. Our other realms, Castile, England, and Austria, are all going to be Catholic at the start of the game. But, you know, since, you know, the backside of this has counter-reform, so we can, you know, it's a sandbox game, so we can convert to other religions. You know, it would be theoretically possible to maybe try to become Muslim as France. That would be very difficult. I don't think that would ever actually happen in real gameplay, but that is something you could mechanically accomplish. The game is pretty open to just letting you do what you want, and that's very cool. To the left of this main player mat, we have, we also have an area for our current treasury, which is just coins, which we're going to use for a lot of different actions. We have our manpower. So our manpower can either be deployed on the board or in your armies, or it can be kind of in this ready pool. When manpower is spent, like, you know, you got your, say this was over in this army and it got killed, it would move into exhausted, and then at the end step we would maybe recover some of that. So this is the way to kind of make it so that you know, you can only field an army that is manageable by your country. You can't be, you know, the size of Genoa and then field a giant army. Just if you're rich enough, you could do it somewhat through mercenaries, but it's not really practical. So in that sense, you know, larger nations will have a larger manpower pool. They will recover manpower quicker, and that's something to keep in mind. The last thing we have, the stability track. Stability is going to get changed. There isn't an administrative action that lets you increase your stability, but mostly it's going to change from events. And these will just kind of give you nice little benefits or drawbacks if you dip down too low. So the +1 is +2 ducats. The +2 allows you to remove some unrest at the end step, and the +3 allows you to gain an extra monarch power of your choice. And then the negative effects of that are kind of just the inverse, where you'll lose 2 ducats at the end step, you'll gain an unrest at the end step, and you'll have to lose a monarch power of your choice at the end step. Now, moving on to the left player board, we have, so this is how armies are done. You can put, you know, a unit directly onto the board if you so wanted to. This would indicate we have one infantry unit in the Languedoc section, or more commonly, you're going to have your little meeples down here in your army boxes. So Army 1 corresponds to, there's going to be little pictures showing which army is which miniature, but Army 1 is this guy up here. So this indicates that we have 2 infantry and 1 cavalry over here in this section of the game, the Seine region. And then we'll have the same thing if we had a fleet on the board. Say we have it here, you would have, you know, various numbers of ships, and ships would either be light ships, which are good for trade, heavy ships, which are very powerful in combat but are quite expensive, and galleys, which are only going to be usable in the inland seas areas, but are really dirt cheap compared to the other ships, so you can definitely, you know, it's 5 galleys for the price of every heavy ship. So in, you know, where the galleys rule the waves, they do so in numbers. Yeah, so as far as how you win the game, the player with the most prestige at the end of the game will win, and prestige is either gained directly throughout the game by various actions, like if you force vassalize a realm, or if you humiliate another player, or if you complete a mission or a milestone, which we'll get to. Those will all give you prestige. So let's say, you know, the game is just about to end. I'm at 46 prestige here on the prestige track. Then we'll do some base end game scoring where you do get points for how big you are, how many, you know, what your stability is, a various number of small effects, and then that'll push me up. I'll do a final calculation. I'll be up at, you know, 60 or 77, say. You compare that to everybody else, highest number wins. That's generally how the scenarios will play out. Sometimes you will see some that have specific victory requirements, but for the most part, it's going to be prestige race. One of the important ways you earn prestige throughout the game is the milestone system. So there are 4 of these in each deck. So we're going to have, we have 4 decks of 4 milestones for each of the 4 ages. 4s. But so at the start of a game, we'll dish out the age 1 ones if we're starting in age 1. Then we'll draw 1 of each. In this game, I've just done this randomly. So we have expand nation, have a town in at least 2 different areas that don't contain any of your core provinces. So a core province for France would be one that has my map, that has my token on the board. So I would need to get to provinces, or town and provinces are essentially interchangeable, in 2 areas that I don't have one. So I could take, for instance, Brittany and Normandy. That would be 1 area. Let's see if I conquered all of this. Doing very well. I conquered all of this. That's 1 area, so I'd have to get, you know, somewhere else. Let's say I took, I don't know, Corsica for some reason. No offense to Corsica. But that would complete that milestone for me. I would then score 5 prestige if I'm the first player to do so, and I would get 2 diplomatic cubes. So, you know, and looking at the other 3, there are these these will be for the whole age, which is 4 rounds. So you do have kind of a while to score these, but bear in mind that, you know, after the first 3 players, you don't even get any prestige for completing them afterwards. So there is kind of this race to complete the milestones at the start of each age. You know, sometimes, you can get unlucky. There are some, you know, that directly interact with colonization or exploration. So if you're playing Poland and, you know, there's something coming up about discovering other continents and exploration, that's not going to be great for you. But, you know, there are a lot of others that are going to be pretty hard for colonizers to do. You know, like England is definitely going to have trouble with some of these. Poland is going to have a great time with some of these. So there is kind of this give and take in what milestones come up for you. But, you know, that's all kind of part of the balance in the discussion of the above board game, is you say, oh, well, you know, hey, you guys, you know, oh, wow, these milestones work so well for France. And then you know, you use that to downplay your own position and to kind of creep up. But, you know, for the most part, these are, you know, like in this one, for instance, these are really pretty broad. Anybody can complete these. You know, if there's someone that has like some nice events early on that give them some stability, or one that gives them a royal marriage token, that little crown with the rings underneath is a royal marriage. then you're going to get some advantage on those. The other main way you get milestones on cards is through the mission system. Now, the mission system is right about to get a pretty big update, so don't get like too critical on what these missions are. But these are kind of inspired by a lot of the EU4 mission trees. So these green ones being starter missions, you can think of as the root node of a tree. So I've chosen 2 of the French starter missions down here. We have Reconquer Normandy and Reconquer Gascony. So this one says I need to control or vassalize Normandy and Co. This one is Bordeaux and Maine, which would be these 2 provinces of England and these other 2 provinces that belong to England. So yeah, as my mission selection here is definitely forecast that I'm going to be trying to fight with England. These are secret. They would be in your hand. I'm just taking them out for clarity. So that is part of the game, you know, like what missions do I want to take? What do I want to do? Yeah. Now the round, so going into more of the structure of the game has 4 ages, as I said. Each age is broken into 4 rounds, and then each round is conducted as a, you know, round robin where, well, not really round robin, but each player, starting with whoever has the first player token, takes 1 turn, and then the next player takes turn, until a certain number of players have passed, depending on the player count. And at that point, the round goes into kind of a cleanup stage, and then we go on to the next round. Now each round has 4 phases. In the first phase, we put out some events. It's kind of the draw cards phase. If we go right over here, the draw cards. We're gonna reveal the event cards. We're gonna draw action cards. We're gonna pay to keep however many we want, and then we'll draw and replace our missions. Now the first round of the game is a little different. And we're actually just going to conduct it here. This game is perfectly set up to start off. So at the start of the game, each player is going to draw 1 of each type of action card. So I think that should get us 1 of each. Okay. And then we have the choice of drawing 3 more, and that can be of any combination of the 3 base action card types we want. And those are administrative cards, diplomatic cards, and military cards. So at this point, you know, you really got to think of what you want to do. And you got to keep in mind, well, depending on how much you personally value advisors or what monarch power, so there's a lot of strategy right off the bat on what you want to do, a lot of planning ahead. So me thinking about this right now, I see that we have 3 advisors, which is not all of these cards have advisors on them. But we've drawn 3 advisors that are +2, +1, and +2. So that would give us, in total, if we played these, +5, +2, and +5 at the end round. So that's quite good. A lot of administrative and a lot of military potential. I don't think we're going to be using the naval maneuver for its action, since I think we're going to be focused mostly on the land for the foreseeable future. So we would use this as our advisor, and we would probably use this as an advisor. I think we want to use this as an action. So we are going to draw another diplomatic card and hopefully get a diplomatic advisor. We got safe technology, which is okay. And then we're actually going to draw 2 military cards because I foresee conflict with England. Interesting. Okay, now, so now we're going to pay to assign these guys. So to assign an advisor, you play it right from our hand. Since the bots don't interact with the cards, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it all for me right now. We're going to play Thomas here as an advisor, and we're going to play Stephen here as an advisor. We're going to hang on to this one. I think I'd rather have the subjugate action card over the +1 advisor. So you see here that this guy costs 2, this guy costs 2, so in total they cost 4. So we're going to kill off 4 of our coins here. We've spent 4 to hire our 2 advisors. Okay. So that's really the main difference in the first round, is that normally the way it works is we're going to draw 3 action cards of our choice, and we can draw those sequentially, so we can look at the first one, see what it is, see if we like it or not, then make the second draw, and then make the third draw. And then you're going to pay 2 coins, 2 ducats for each one of those you want to keep, and then you're going to discard the rest. And then technically after we've done this step, we would draw missions. I've gone ahead and done it now because I think this is what we would want to do anyway. Yeah. The second phase after this, after everyone has kind of done this, we go into the action phase. And since we're doing a 4-person game, you can see down here at the very bottom of the left of the screen, reward for passing. It says number of players 4+. So the first to pass gets 5 ducats, the second to pass 3, the third to pass 2. So in this scenario, once 3 players have passed, the last player is kind of under a very short clock to finish out anything that he has to do mandatory, which is taking an event, and then the round will end. After the action phase, which is generally the longest phase, we go to the peace and rebels phase. Here you deal with the outcome of the wars and the effects of rebels in your provinces. Non-player realms, anything that's not one of the 4 factions we're playing as. At war with, non-player realms that we're at war with and that we've not taken some territories for us might invade us. That's the invasion step. Rebels will try to conquer provinces unrest. Then we can have our peace conferences to try to resolve any wars we're in. We'll add maybe religious dissent, which is unrest in provinces with a different religion than us. So that's why the religion on the map is important, because if we're, a Catholic realm, but we control, a host of Muslim provinces, we're going to have to deal with a lot of unrest at the end of the round. And then finally, for each province in unrest, we're going to roll one of these rebel dice, and then we'll take the result. For instance, this roll got us lose a monarch power cube. So we would have to lose one of these of our choice, which would be a bummer. Finally, the last round is the income and upkeep phase. So at that point, we get a chance to fire any advisors or dismiss military units and recall ships to sea. When a ship is in a port, you don't pay upkeep for it. So that way, if we kind of notice that going into the income upkeep phase that, hold on, I'm on the brink of bankruptcy here, we kind of have a chance to fix some problems there in our economy. Then you're just going to collect your income. You're going to tally up how much you get from your provinces, your vassal provinces, any effects like stability, the +2. There are some other rules that might get you a couple ducats, and then we'll subtract upkeep for our military units, 1 for each deployed land unit, 1 for every 2 ships deployed at sea, rounding up, upkeep for advisors, for stability, and then we'll kind of get, at the end of that, money based on what we have left over. Maybe we might lose money on the upkeep. Maybe, in total, maybe we'll get some money. Go either way. And then we're going to collect the monarch power. So for us, if this makes it to the end of the round, then we'll have, we'll gain 5, 1, and 5 monarch power. So not very diplomatic, which we'll have to deal with. And then we're going to update our manpower. We'll recover half rounded up of our manpower to a minimum of 2. So that way, if you're a huge nation and you've got 18 manpower, you lose a ton of it in a battle. Say you've got 10 exhausted manpower, we're going to recover 5 of that at the end of the round. And then if our hand size has gotten above 5, then we do have to discard some of those. That shouldn't happen a ton unless you're doing some weird shenanigans here. I want to go over some of the actions a little bit first before we chop into the game, just to give you some idea. The event action. So one of the driving forces for action on the board is the event system. So you build the event deck at the start of the game. The scenario will tell you what to put in there. You're going to have faction or realm specific events for each player. You're going to have 2 of those per age, and then those will be divided into 2 halves. So you can get both of the Castine events in the first 2 rounds. They have to get split up. So this is a first half event. These are all going to be first half events. This is a wild, so that can be neither half. But, that way the things are going to happen sequentially. So you couldn't have, the Protestant Revolution couldn't happen before the Protestant League, for instance. That wouldn't really make any sense. Or the Protestant Reformation, not Revolution. So when you take an event, let's say I'm France, I want to take the Hungarian throne. I can take someone else's event, and then I would get to choose A or B here. I could say, I want Austria to lose a prestige, but they can add 2 influence tokens 2 Hungarian areas, and I would gain 2 diplomatic manpower. And then when I do take an event, say there's 2 face down here. So if I were to take the Hungarian throne, I would flip the next one in the pile. And then what I would also do is I would put 2 ducats on any existing event that was there before I flipped it. So that way, if there is something bad, so you might look at revolts, for instance, and say, well, I have to choose my own areas and add unrest to it. You know, like, why would I ever do that? So the question, the point is that eventually these kind of worse ones are going to have ducats on them, and they're going to have money on them. So, well, yes, maybe I'll have to take events, revolts later on, but maybe there's going to be like 6 or 8 ducats on there, and that's actually not a bad trade. I haven't actually seen this one, and I didn't know what that is, so I'll try to forget that I know what's under there. The next of the I'm doing the special actions up here in the middle column. Player-to-player diplomacy. That's when you can kind of make trades and deals with the other players at the board. Say, maybe enter into an official mechanical alliance or royal marriage, or you want to sell provinces to one another. You can do all those things. Research ideas is the next one. It says costed on the cart. So if I wanted to research cannons, for instance, or request for the new one, I would pay 5 diplomatic power or 5 military power here. And then these do a whole host of things. These are randomly drawn at the start of the game, except for these 3, which are fixed. For instance, the quest for the new worlds. When we take it, we can now perform the explore action, and I would gain 1 mana power of my choice to put back, which leads very well into the explore action down below those 2. So the explore action is how I kind of, if I was England here, I could take the explore action and maybe move from the Eastern Atlantic. You see the B symbol? That would allow me to move to any sea zone with the B on it. So I could go over here to the Caribbean Sea, and then I could start exploring the new continent. There's a lot of money on trade to be made over in North America, South America. There's these gold provinces down here where you're going to get a lot of money. So it can be very nice to explore. Else in the basic actions, we have change state religion. Not an action you typically see a whole bunch. Generally, if you're flipping your religion is going to be due to certain events. Like the active supremacy in England, you're going to see that flip your religion. It can be a little expensive to voluntarily change your religion in terms of prestige. You can certainly do it. If you notice that, Protestantism has spread way faster in France than I expected it would, so maybe we might flip over to be state religion Protestant if we see that might be causing us some issues if we don't. Then the last special action is change national focus. So that will allow us to kind of move some monarch power around. The way that works is you have to choose one area of your monarch power. You're going to choose to add 2 to that from the other monarch powers. So if I choose military, change national focus to military, I have to take 1 from diplomacy and 1 from administrative, and those have to come out of 1 of each. So if you have no diplomatic power but 4 administrative power, you can't do it. Should have planned out your turn better. Free actions, these are things you can actually do at any point. You can do it during someone else's turn. You can take or repay a loan. So a loan token, I would grab one of these guys over here, I'd put that in my treasury, and I would gain 5 ducats, but they take 6 to repay. Loans, loans to anyone who's played EU4, they're good, essentially. Don't be afraid to take on debt. There's a reason why it was done a lot historically. If you're low on ducats, you only got 5 in your income, and all of a sudden, Castile, your friend who you thought was your buddy all games, declared a surprise war on you. Maybe worth loaning up, maybe taking 3 or 4 loans, maybe even 5. 5 is the max to kind of throw together an army as quickly as you can. But you have to watch out. Not only do they take 1 more to pay off, but each loan that you have outstanding at the end of a round will cost you 1 in upkeep. And tragically, if you have 5 loans and you are forced to pay a cost that you cannot pay since you have no more money and you can't take any more loans, you'll go bankrupt. Bankruptcy is pretty bad. You'll lose a ton of monarch power, you'll lose some stability, you'll lose some prestige. So it can't be a fine line to walk between how much loan do I take and how much do I risk bankruptcy. The next one is replenish manpower. You can spend 1 military power per 2 units. I think that's been changed to 3 units now. So if I'm up against the wall, really getting pushed in, but I do have a surplus of military power, I can spend that to kind of pull back some of my manpower so I can recruit it. And that's a free action. So what that kind of means is that you can do a recruitment. So I pay 1 to do a recruit. And then if I notice that, oh, well, I don't actually have as much military power as I want, or I don't have as much manpower, you can kind of bump up the cost of that recruitment by putting in, you know, maybe I spend all 3 of mine to do a recruitment plus replenishing 6 manpower. Yeah, and then last free action, hire advisor or recruit leader. Hiring advisors we kind of did at the start, or recruiting a leader would be similar, but see at the bottom of this guy, we would recruit Gareth as a general for Army 1. So we would put him under Army 1. He is going to add 2 cavalry dice to any battle involving Army 1. The way the dice work is, let's say we're doing a battle, we get 3 of these white dice by default, and then so we had Gareth in there, so we get 2 cavalry dice as well. We're going to roll these up. Oops, that was a weird roll. We have, you know, a double infantry symbol here, which is only relevant if there's a certain idea, but it's an infantry symbol, 2 cavalry symbols, and an artillery symbol. So we would look at our army, and we would see that we only have 2 infantry and a cavalry. So we can match up this with one of our infantry. Actually, I can't. Yeah. And then we can match up this with one of our cavalry. We can't match up a second cavalry because we only have 1 cavalry and we have no artillery. And this is a miss. So we would only have done 2 hits here. Whereas if we had, you know, if we had some more cavalry or some more artillery mixed in here, you would get more hits. And then there are a lot of effects that can get you more dice in the battle. Better General can get you more dice. Certain military ideas can get you more dice. Certain action cards you play from your hand can get you more dice. So there's a lot more to, you know, the dice roll. Than it's not just, you know, it's something you might say like Here I Stand, which just mass dice rolls. It's all one type of unit. You're just trying to get as many hits as possible. There is a lot more thinking going into what dice I want to put in, how I want to craft the composition of my army, you know, what leader I want. There's a lot of decision making that can go into making a better army. If you just spam 20 infantry with a poor general, and then you send them into someone who's got, you know, a couple military dice, maybe some military reform card active. He's got his balance spread, and he's got a good general. You're gonna get munched. So that's definitely something you got to keep in mind. So the administrative actions, increase stability. You're going to pay flat cost. That says 6 AP. I believe that was brought down to 5 AP in a recent change. So you can increase this manually if you want without any kind of card or any kind of event. That one's pretty straightforward. Convert area, you're going to pay 3 action points and 3 ducats. I believe that was also changed to 2 action points and 3 ducats. So if I control every province in a region, then that would allow me to change the religion of that area. I pay the cost. I do have to mark one of those regions is unrest, as they kind of resist the religious conversion. Now, yeah, so I said you have to control every area, every province. It's not quite like that. You have to either control every province, or you have to control every province except provinces that are controlled by realms that are the same religion as you. So let's say, for instance, I control these 3 provinces, and Castile can control this province. Even though I don't control the whole area, the last province that I don't control is controlled by another Catholic power, and since I'm trying to convert to Catholic, you're able to. Below that we have colonize. So we do have discoveries on the board. Maybe we've discovered Angola here as the French. I can spend a certain number of colonists that would be in this colonist pool. You get those at the end of the round, and I would convert that claim or that exploration into a province. Oh, actually, that was the wrong bag. That's how you turn your discoveries into land, essentially. Heading down to the diplomatic actions, we can do influence for 1 diplomatic power or 3 ducats per token. So you'll notice that, like, as France, I've got 2 cubes on the map here in Languedoc, 1 in Lombardy, 1 in Burgundy. You know, England has some here. Influence on the board is kind of a measure of how much, well, I want to say influence that you have in an area. It's required to take certain actions like vassalizing, annexing realms, forging alliances somewhere. You can also use it for military access for areas that are neutral to you. You know, or if you're playing in the Holy Roman Empire, it's the main determiner in who's going to win an imperial election when the emperor dies. It's, you know, whoever has the most influence in each of these elector areas. You'll thumb that up and see who has the most votes, and emperor breaks ties. So influence is very important. Yeah, and so that to place them, you can either place them directly on the board. If you think about it, as you're spending 1 DP per token you place, you could, instead of just putting them in the bag and then putting them in there, you could just put them straight on the board area somewhere. Or you can spend 3 ducats or 3 coins to place 1 directly. And you can do, you know, we're not limited to 1 here, so I could spend 12 ducats and 2 diplomatic power from my board, and I'd be able to place 6. The only restrictions on it are you can only place 2 at a time per area, and there can only be a total of 5 influence tokens in an area in total. So that way you avoid things like, you know, all of a sudden I just dump, you know, 5 influence into Switzerland and no one else can play any influence there without doing some shenanigans, or, you know, a surprise election where I put, you know, 3 into Brandenburg, 3 into Saxony, and 3 into Westphalia all at the same time, and I beat Austria just because, you know, I put too much in at once. We can do a Forged Alliance. Forged Alliances with NPRs is very handy. As France, we start with one with Provence. That's going to allow us to kind of call on some aid from them during wars. It paves the way for vassalization. We're going to spend diplomatic power equal to half rounded up of their tax income. So let's say we wanted to ally with Milan. There are 2 things we have to keep in mind. A, to forge an alliance with someone, we have to have 2 influence there already. We don't have that, so we would have to take an influence action to put 1 more cube here. So let's say we did that. I'll copy and paste that one. We'll move that in a second. And then after that, they have a tax income of 1, 2 for the big one, 3, and then 4. So half of that is 2. So we would have to spend 2 diplomatic power to then forge an alliance with them. So let's delete this one. So we would take one of our alliance tokens and we would put it on Milan. And then as a bonus for forging an alliance there, we would get to add an influence in that area as well. So if we did that, we would actually end up with 5 influence. This area we max out influence. We'd have an alliance with Milan, and we'd have 3 influence in that area. Next, we can fabricate a claim. As France, we should have 2 claims on the board already. Yeah, we have 1 in Aquitaine and 1 in Brittany and Normandy. So claims are going to be useful for a couple things. 1, it gives us a casus belli. You do have to have a cause for war in this game. You can go in no CB. Don't recommend it. It's very easy to get a claim. You just spend the 2 DP. It's not really worth the no CB. I don't think it is in EU4 either, but I see some people do it. So what that's going to give you a cause for war, so you can go in. It's also when you, in the peace and rebels phase, or when you resolve the peace, if I have a claim in Aquitaine and I've taken Bordeaux, for instance, that would allow me to. Normally, when you take an area in a war, you're going to get it in unrest, in an unrest state. If I have a claim, I can kind of burn the claim to remove 2 provinces in unrest. So, you know, if I took 1, 2, 3, well, not Anjou because they're my ally, but I took these 3. If I didn't have claims, I'd be stuck with that unrest at the end of the round, which could be frustrating depending on the results. But if I have claims there, I can just burn the claims off and I get to remove that for free. So that's very nice. Trade. So I mentioned trade earlier. We'll get into trade when I take the trade action. I'm certainly going to. But essentially that is how you don't get trade like you do with tax income at the end of the round. You only get it actively through taking the trade action. where you draw 3 cards, you're going to choose one, you're going to activate a node, and based on the merchant and everything on the card, you're going to get some money. Moving on to the military actions, you have declare war, so I could declare war on England, I could cite my Casus Belli. Now we're at war, we're going to take our little war symbols, put them over each other, just so we can keep track of it. The declare war action itself, if there are armies in the same area, that'll trigger a battle with them. If there's no battle, then I get to do a free activation as part of it. Kind of a surprise attack. Activate an army or fleet. That's how you move things around or conduct a siege. You pay to activate an army, and then you can take actions with that army, be it movement or activating a fleet to move your ships around. Recruit, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. You're going to spend 1 MP, and then you're going to be able to recruit from your manpower pool or from kind of like a base mercenary pool, which everyone can pull from. So I would say I want to spend 2 ducats per infantry, 5 for cavalry, 6 for artillery if you've got them unlocked. So I would say I'll build 2 infantry for 4, and then the cavalry for 5. So it's 9. Then to spend 9 to afford those guys. And then you have to pay from either your treasury. You can take loans, as I mentioned earlier, 5 for each loan. And that's it. Those are all the actions. That was kind of a quick overview of them, because we're going to go into a demo play here, so we'll go into them more as they come up. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is the bots and how the bots work. So I did talk to them a little bit earlier, but so we've got a couple options in here where we build their deck. So I'll go over to each bot. So these will be on a little play sheet that you'll be able to pull out, but I've pulled out different copy tablets so I can show them all at the same time. So the first thing you do is you kind of build their deck using the bot deck here. Like this is the Castilian deck. We'll shuffle this afterwards, so we're not cheating. But you'll see each of these cards have certain actions on them, like take an idea. We're going to go to the diplomacy chart, the military chart, papal curia, the Pope. Another diplomacy one, convert religion or focus economic. So you'll build those decks based on each age and their specific chart. This is the Castile chart. So that way, if you're doing Poland, it doesn't make sense to use the whole deck, because the whole deck contains things like exploration, naval exploration. You don't really want that in there as much as somebody like Castile, who you do want to be taking those actions. And then you're going to have these targeting charts for their military or diplomatic actions. So if we draw, say, diplomacy, and we need to choose a target, then that's specific for each realm. So we'll roll a dice. Papal state, for instance, on a 1, if papal state is invalid for whatever reason, maybe we're trying to forge an alliance, but we already have an alliance with papal state, or someone has rudely destroyed the papal state, then from there we'll kind of roll again into either Venice or Milan, or maybe more likely we hit Aragon because it's on a 2, 3, or 4, or 5, indicating that Castile wants to kind of perform the Iberian wedding and union and vassalize and annex Aragon. So yeah, you're gonna do each of the bots have their own deck compositions and flow charts for diplomacy and military. They have a couple rules on how they handle unrest. This is the whole document here. You've got a lot of different charts. So you're not really having to do the whole choose whatever you think is best for the bot extrapolation. You can generally just follow this, and it's going to tell you exactly what to do. And the charts are really well put together for the spy instance. For spy, are we at war with somebody? The red arrow is no, yes, green is yes. If we're not, an opponent is like another player or bot. So the areas of the game where the bot doesn't really interact with is pretty limited. They don't interact with treasury. They don't have coins. They kind of have their own. You can see their sheet here. It's quite simple. They have bot power instead of each of the 3 separate monarch powers. So you know, their monarch power is condensed into one category, so it's kind of easier for them to manage. They do have manpower. They do have the army that they need to move around. They do interact with religion. They do interact with the milestones and the missions and the events. Their battles use the same dice system, albeit with a few caveats. They don't have to draw generals. They'll always draw. So, you know, they interact with the Papal Curia. They interact with the Holy Roman Empire. They have to pass. They have to score prestige. They explore. They really do everything that a player does for the most part, except for, as I said, they don't do action cards and they don't really do money. But they have other restrictions on them that make it a little trickier for them. So I think from this, we'll actually just dive into play. So I can kind of explain it as we go. We'll actually pull these missions into our hand here. In this scenario, I'm the French player. France is defined as the first player for this scenario. So I'm going to take the first turn here. So, I don't know, what the have to think about what we're going to do here. Looking at the events, you know, we can kind of walk through the events if we want to take any of these. As the French player, I know that my event in the first half of the first age, so it could be this round, it could be one of these two. Actually, well, technically I do know it's not this one, although I should know that. It could be this one, or it could be next round. It has to do with the Italian Wars. It's not super critical, you know, sometimes there's like an event like the Iberian Wedding, where the top action is really great for Castile, the bottom one is not so much. It's not bad, but it is kind of bad, but it's more that you miss out on the top one. But so we're not super fussed about getting our events, so it might be worth, you know, if we go to the Hungarian throne, this Austrian mission, we see it on the B option. That would give us 2 diplomatic power, which would be handy because we're not going to be getting much diplomatic power. What are we going to do here? I think the first thing we'll do... Oh yeah, the first thing we should do actually is the rest of the milestones, to see if there's anything that we can score here quickly. This one we can score quickly. That one's actually going to be quite tough for us in general. We can take up promises in Brittany and Normandy, but after that, it's actually going to get a little tricky for us, because we'll have to go into, if we can get into Aragon. Aragon's quite strong, and then everything to our east is in the Holy Roman Empire, or is Burgundy, which is quite strong. You know, these areas, we already have a town here, so we can't go into it, and fighting into the HRE can be tough. So this one's going to be tricky for us unless we go overseas with the exploration. Dynastic ties have 2 royal marriage tokens in play and at least 4 influence in each realm. And at least one of those royal marriages must be with one we didn't start with. We didn't start with any. So I wonder if we'd want to go for that one. But again, you can only form a royal marriage with a specific royal marriage card, which we haven't drawn to start with. So that one also might be quite tough for us. Conquer enemy lands. Now this one we could do. Successfully siege 2 or more provinces on the same turn. So when I take the siege action, when I activate this army, and I take a siege action, I can spend 1 military power for each. I can spend 1 military power for each unit I want to activate in that army to siege with. So this is actually, this army here, this only has 1 infantry in it. So, but let's say this had, 5 infantry. I could spend 2 military power to activate 2 infantry, and that would give me a siege strength of 2, which would allow me to take one of these big provinces. They're worth 2, small ones are worth 1. Infantry are worth 1 siege power, cavalry are worth half a siege power, so you really don't want to be sieging with cavalry, and then artillery are worth 2 siege power. So you're going to get a lot more efficiency out of your actions if you can get cannons to siege with. So I am eyeballing Normandy here. That would allow us to score the milestone quite easily. Bots do score milestones. They do them a little differently, but they do interact with the milestones. So I wonder if we want to build up to try to rush down Normandy. The last one, have a stability of +2 or higher. That one we can't really do. That one's going to be tough for us. If we were Spain, for instance, though, we see that the B option here gives us 1 stability. So Spain, if we were Spain, we could theoretically go for that one in the first round. We can maybe focus on administrative, get the administrative power we need to increase our stability manually, then take the event, and that would give us up to +2. So I think what we're going to do, just to get the ball rolling, is I'm going to take a trade action, just to kind of showcase that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw 3 trade cards from the deck. I'm pretty sure that's shuffled. And we're going to look at our options here. We have that cloth one, which I think we're actually going to take. So we have 3 options. We feel the first one up here, spices. And those activate the nodes of the East Indies, the Indian Ocean, or Alexandria. As France, we do not have access to any of those 3 at the moment. So we can pretty much ignore this one for now. The iron, we see Bordeaux. Yes, we do have a merchant there already. We have a ship adjacent to it. Baltic Sea, no. Astrakhan, no. We don't really have access to that one. Or, we actually got pretty lucky to get 2 choices here. We have Champagne, which here, again, we also have our merchant in. I did not sack the deck, I promise. But it's quite lucky that we've gotten 2 of these here. So we have 2 options between these 2. And the way you kind of figure out what you would earn is you look at, say, Bordeaux. So if we wanted to activate Bordeaux, we would get 1 trade power for having a merchant in the node. We would get 1 trade power for each light ship in a trade slot. Oops, sorry. Adjacent to that node. So we have 1. So we're up to 2 trade power. Then we would look at the key provinces and we would tally up which ones we control. We don't have Bordeaux yet. Do we have Bourbon? We do have Bourbon. We don't have Navarra. And we don't have Nantes, I believe. So we would look up here. We say this is the trade power row. So 3 to 5. This is a undeveloped. The green is the undeveloped trade node. The red is the developed trade node. There's an action card that lets us permanently, basically improve a node for everybody that uses it. So we would see that 3 gets us 10 ducats here. And then if we want to compare that to Champagne, we would count up again. We have 1 for having the merchant in the node. And then Champagne we do control. And there's a little plus symbol here. A lot of like inland trade nodes, since you can't get bonuses for ships, you have the plus. That indicates that it's worth an extra trade power. So Champagne would be worth 1 normally, but the plus indicates that it's worth 2. So with the merchant, we're up to 3 already. Bourgogne we don't control. Lorraine we don't control. Geneva we don't control. So again, we're at 3. And again, that gets us 10. So these are going to be identical for us based on which one we choose. But one thing to keep in mind is that when we take a trade action, normally when you take a trade action with other players in the game, I activate that whole node itself. I'm not activating my merchant there. Specifically, I'm activating that node. So other players that have their merchant in that node would also be able to benefit from the card at the same time. So that way, if you have like a high importance trade node in the game with like Portugal, Castile, France, England, and the Netherlands, and everyone is kind of up in North America, jostling for trade power in those trade nodes. Those are going to be up a lot of money because they're going to be getting activated a lot, as opposed to something, you know, like Aleppo, where maybe just the odd players can be trading. It's not going to get you as much. But as a bot, as consideration against a bot, if I take a trade action and I select a maritime node, so the C1, they would gain 1 bot power per ship, or 2 on a distant continent they have adjacent, or on a land node, they'll gain 1 for each if they have at least 1 town adjacent to the selected node. So do they? So yes, we kind of have a choice, but if I do Bordeaux, I'm actually giving out quite a lot of bout power here, because I give out 2 to England, because I have 1 here, and I give 1 over to Castile. But if I did Champagne, then since Austria is adjacent, they'll get 1. So we're gonna do Champagne, and we're just gonna flip over one merchant here to indicate that he's been activated. So you can only use a merchant once per round. He'll refresh. We're gonna get our 10 ducats. I'm just gonna copy and paste the 5er, and then Austria is actually gonna get a bot power for that because we gave it to him. Now, you know, if this was a person, then I could be like, hey, you know, I helped you out with some trade. Maybe you'll help me out later with some trade. But you know, since the bot does not have feelings, we cannot. You know, We can't call 2. So next we're gonna jump over. That was our turn. That was one action. We got one action. We did pretty well actually. 10 ducats for a single trade action. That was pretty lucky. But now we're gonna go with Castile. So what Castile will do is we will. I probably shouldn't put that all over there. Going over to the bot chart here, just so I can kind of show you it. We're gonna. So they started out. Did they have that little bender from Futurama looking symbol is the bot power? So do they have 0 bot power, or if the end of action phase trigger is met? The end of action phase trigger is when the certain number of players is when 3 players have passed. Then that kind of gives them the clock that they have to work with. So that is not the case. Are they under attack? Are there enemies in their own realm? No, they're not. Is there army on the map board, and can it siege in the same area? No. Their army is not on the map board. It doesn't start on the map board for the bots, so it can't siege in the same area. Do they have 2 colonists, a colonial claim, and 3 bot power left? No, they don't have colonists or a colonial claim. Is their spent bot power greater than the bot power they have remaining? No, they have 9 unspent, 0 spent. Do they have any bot action cards left? Yes, they do. The bot action cards are here. This is the deck that we built for them. So they are going to head and draw one of those cards. So we're going to flip over the first one here, and we have a military action. So first thing first, we're gonna spend that corresponding 1 bot power, and then we're going to go over here. Actually, I'm going to move this closer to the bots. I think that makes a bit more sense. So we're going to scroll down until we get to the military action here. So military action, here we go. So they're gonna go through here. They're gonna say, are they at war? No. Do they have a claim somewhere? Do they have a claim somewhere? They do, they have one in Granada. So one thing that is outdated here, these claims basically should have a number on them, 1 through 6. So we're actually gonna do a little, little ad hoc change here. We're gonna add a 1 to this claim. And you'll have 6 of them, so you can just number them 1 through 6. Or maybe you have 8. I'm not sure. That's not important. But so we have a claim, yes. So we're gonna roll a dice here. We got a 6. So we would check to see if that matches one of the claims on the board. So we don't always know. It's good to have unpredictability in where the bot will go, otherwise the players can kind of plan around it too much. So does roll match number on a claim? No, it does not. Crusade called out on the adjacent realm, and bot is Catholic. Nope, there are no crusades called, although we are Catholic. So we're gonna go to our military target chart, which is what we kind of showed off earlier. Scrolling up here. If we look at this, so we see that if we roll a 1 or a 2, we're going to look at Navarra, 3 through 5 Granada, and a 6 Portugal. Portugal will be kind of crazy because the English are allied with there, so if that happens, France will be very happy. Alright, that didn't roll very well. I don't really like tabletop simulators rolling. I would love for them to roll a 6, but that roll looked suspicious to me, so we're going to roll that again. Okay, they got a 2. That makes a lot more sense. So 1 to 2 goes to Navarra. So they're going to look at Navarra now. Target is an opponent. Yeah, again, opponent is another bot or a player, so that's not the case. Truce or allied with the target? No. Their army is larger than target's strength. So right now their army starts at a measly 2 guys. They can recruit quite a bit more than that, but still only starts with 2. And Navarra's strength is just 1. They only have 1 small province. So even though their army is 2, they actually fulfill that. Yeah, so it's 2 is bigger than 1. Yes. So they jump down to the declare war on target. Remove influence and gains bot power for alliances as normal for declaration of war. So yeah, wow, this is interesting. So they're going to go ahead and declare war on Navarra. They do actually lose influence in areas that the bot is that the target is in. So they're going to lose some influence from the Aragon area. It's a shame they didn't force an alliance before going in. Then you would gain bot. They would gain bot power, in this case bot power, or military power, for when you call an ally into war where they're adjacent or in the same area. So they would gain 1 if they're allied with Aragon here, but they're not. They don't have any allies, so they're not going to get anything there. Okay, so we've declared war. Then we continue on that black arrow out to the left. Triggers land or naval battle. So This would happen if Castile had any ships adjacent to ports controlled by Navarre for a naval battle, or if they had any land units in land areas where Navarre had provinces. That is not the case. So again, continuing on. Triggers by naval battle, no. Army can siege in its current area. Again, their army doesn't start deployed, so no. Can reach enemy army or area in one activation. Now this one, when you determine what a bot can reach and their map isn't on the board, they can basically start out in any area where they control provinces. So in this case, we could start out in Castile. Now, can this army reach Aragon from Castile, for instance? Yes, it can. An army can move 2 spaces, but has to stop when you enter a neutral or hostile area. So how that plays out in practice is, if we were in, Andalusia, we could, well, the mountain kind of here complicates things, but we could cross it with only 2 guys. So we could move once here. We don't stop because this is a friendly area, and then we can continue to move into Aragon as such. So we have now moved into a hostile area. This is going to be the first battle already here. So bot battles against NPRs are pretty quick and dirty, just to kind of, it's not really fun to just sit there for a while resolving battles between a bot and, a bot light edition, essentially. So all you do for a bot battle against an NPR is you roll a number of infantry dice equal to basically the bot's, the NPR's strength in that area. So for Navarre, that's only 1. They just have Navarre itself. Navarre has the taxing, military power of 1. It's half the tax income, but rounded up, so 1 divided by 2, 0.5 rounded up is 1. So we just roll 1 infantry dice here, and on anything but a miss, they would score a hit. So Castile would lose their 1 guy. If they're 2, it's going to go over here. There is going to be a section for manpower on a new edition of the board. So they lost 1 guy. Since their army is still alive, the bot counts as now having won the battle. They must have killed 1 of the guys there. When you win a battle on your turn, you gain 1 military power. The bot gains 1 bot power. So they basically recouped their cost here. Then you'll see, can reach enemy army in 1 activation? Yes. Move to do it, essentially. Triggers a land battle. Yes, we did the land battle. If victorious, gain 1 bot power. Then end turn. So that's their turn. That was the Castilian turn. Pretty aggressive right off the bat. Declaration of war turn 1 on Navarre. That's an interesting move. It does mean that this now area, if they take it, this area would be under their control, so that would kind of have implications on our border. But they lost that 2 influence in Aragon, which is kind of a bummer for them. So we'll see. We'll see if that works out for them. So England, we would go through the same kind of base check. If they're under attack, if it's end stage spent greater than whatever. But we'll get to the same spot in the chart where they're going to get to draw a card. We have Papal Curia or Spy. So you go kind of top to bottom here. You would say, okay, Papal Curia, if that's a valid action, do that one. If it's not, then do a spy action. So if we're a Muslim faction and we get Papal Curia as spies, the Papal Curia is not applicable for us, so we would do spy. And then the bottom part is if we're at war, always do spy. But we're not at war. So we're going to spend 2 bot power, and we're going to do the Papal Curia action, which we'll scroll to now. Eventually you kind of do get the hang of how all these all work, but I want to go through and show them to you. So, has Catholic state religion? So even, right off the bat, if we're Muslim, we would kind of back out of this one down here. Yes, we are papal controller. Has uncontested control of the Papal Curia. So this is a nice time to kind of look at the Papal Curia track over here. Uncontested, so these are the 4 cardinals. There are 4 cardinal slots because we have 4 players, or 4 Catholic factions. You get some nice bonuses for being the person in control of the Curia. That's the person with the most cardinals, or if you don't have the most cardinals, it's the leftmost breaks ties. Actually, at the moment, Castile is the papal controller, so you pay less upkeep on advisors, you pay less administrative to raise your stability, you gain extra diplomatic power, you can also excommunicate someone for 2 diplomatic power, or call a crusade for 2. Excommunicate is going to slap another player or opponent with some minus prestige to kind of give you a custom spell against them. Crusade is similar, but you do it against Muslim factions, and it'll kind of give you like a little boost in manpower or what have you. There's 2 options when you declare one on Muslim power. So England looks at this and they say, do I have uncontested control of the Curia? No, they don't even have contested control. Contested control is right now where Castile has control, but only because they're tie-breaking, so they wouldn't get this. It's actually supposed to be one prestige, but they wouldn't get prestige in the round. It's not. It's contested control. So they say, no, I don't have that. So it plays Cardinal on the papal track. Okay, so England is going to draw one from here. And the way this works is we're going to shift down everybody and drop this guy in here. So although these slots are here, we're only going to use these. We would only use these in a 5 or 6 player game, or a 5 or 6 Catholic player game. So they actually lose this one from the bottom of the row. Yeah, I mean England at the start of this time period is not exactly like, you know, the Pope's go-to guy. So they will lose that one. They do have control now, but it's contested. So it's not amazing, and they'll lose it quite in 10 years. You know, they'll lose it the moment anyone else takes an action, but they do have control now. So they have placed the track, and that's their round, essentially. You see that if they are now the papal control, they would remove excommunication on their own ruler, if applicable, but they do not. Okay, yeah, jumping over now to Austria. Now, one of the things about Austria is that they do start the game as the Holy Roman Emperor. So you see the track down here at the bottom left. Let's move around here. So the Holy Roman Empire is a big part of the game, especially if you're playing in the Holy Roman Empire or on its borders. This authority meter will kind of go up. You can take a manual action to increase it, but it does increase from certain effects, like in the video game where if a foreign nation invades the HRE and the emperor's, you know, like feeling a little too cowardly, then they can decline the call from their allies. Authority will go down. If an area in the empire leaves for whatever reason, it's taken over by somebody else or an event, authority will go down, but it comes up if you reintegrate an area, if you take the action just to increase authority. There are a couple missions at the moment for Austria that will increase authority. So that's kind of a balancing act that you have to manage as the emperor. And you can see that under each of the authority levels, you might get, for instance, +1 birth, +1 diplomatic power, or plus at 6 authority, max authority, you get 2 diplomatic power and 1 military power per round, every round. And then the level of authority also coincides with how much base tax income, or just tax income and manpower you get. So if I'm Austrian, I'm sitting at +6 authority. This is a very, very secure empire, very centralized, very powerful. They're going to get 6 extra income, 6 manpower, 2 diplomatic power, and a military power every round. So pretty strong. So, emperorship is very important, because if you look at Austria's kind of base start, it's not as huge as France, but they do have the emperorship to make up for it. And bear in mind that, I've seen games where Austria loses that emperorship throne to somebody else. I'm playing in a game at the moment where Poland has it. When Austria's ruler dies, like I said before, you count up influence in each of the elector areas. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I have, 3 French ones to 1 Austrian one, I would win this area. You're going to count up who wins the most areas. The emperor gets to decide ties. And then after that, it switches control. So we could see, maybe I'll go for a French emperorship. Probably not. It's a little tough, because you can only place influence in areas that are adjacent to places where you already have influence or provinces. So I could do it. I could place like 2 here at a time, and then I could put 2 here and 2 here with the next action, and that would give me maybe control of 3 of the 5 areas. At the moment, there isn't really, I know this is something that there's going to be addressed, is the bot kind of defending their emperorship and influence. That's not really done a ton at the moment, so I don't want to kind of exploit that area of the undeveloped mechanics right now. Talking about Austria being the emperor. Okay, they would go through the same flow in the chart where they're not under attack, it's not in the end state, blah 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 blah. So we have idea, cool. So they're gonna spend those first 3 bot power, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here to the ideas. I'm gonna copy paste this guys. So we have 9 ideas on display. So first, what we do, I'll just go over to that. Like I said, you kind of get the hang of what all of these say because they're not terribly complicated. But we see, do we have any focus? We haven't seen a focus card yet, so that we'll ignore that part. But that would be a no. Then we're gonna roll dice. Focus type 1 to 2, admin 3 4, diplomatic 5 6, military, and then within that we would say we would just basically just choose one of the ideas. The bots at the moment, you do get victory or prestige for getting ideas. They don't get a mechanical bonus for having the ideas, but they will later on. So let's say what we're doing with Austria right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We roll. We get a 1, so we're doing administrative, and then within these they kind of have rules for, prefer an idea that doesn't have anyone else taking it, and then prefer one that a bot has over one that a player has, that kind of thing. But this is the first idea of the game, so again we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they got it here. They now put their little cube. We'll put it here. Now these little numbers on here are a little outdated. This would indicate that you get 5 prestige. Well, I won't go over the old rules, but the new rules are that you get 3 prestige anytime you research an idea. When someone researches an idea, everyone who already had that idea would then get a further 2 prestige on top of it. So that's to kind of indicate that people are copying our technology. Essentially, if I'm first to research, like I said, the Austrians are first to research adaptability. Then if we research adaptability later on, Austria would kind of get like a trickling in benefit from other people kind of copying them. So if you do kind of do a good job of identifying an idea that everyone else is going to want early on, and you can kind of zip in there first, that can definitely pay off for you in terms of prestige. That's their whole turn. We're back to us now, under France. So we actually got pretty lucky. We actually got a decent amount of money here. Do we want to just... How much long do we got? It's already 6, so we already got... Okay, so we're in a fair way in. We might just, build up. We might just build up to try to take back our land for the English for fun. So the first thing we're going to do is we will shift our focus to military power. We're going to need our military power for the coming battles. When you do a focus, you can also kind of do some card discard and draw. So we could discard up to 3 cards. So we can we can discard 2 cards to draw 1 card, and we can discard 3 cards to draw 2 cards of our choice. We're gonna do the latter. I actually really want a specific military card, so we're gonna burn those 3 to draw 2 more military cards. Oh, and I did get the one I wanted, which is Siege Assault, and we actually got a pretty good general too. Three of the colored cubes is essentially the best type of general you can get. We don't have cannons, so obviously cavalry would have been better here, but this is not terrible. So that's our action. That's our whole turn. So I'm going to zip over back to Castile now. Now they're going to do something a little different, because if you remember from earlier, we hit something earlier in their base chart. So nope, no on this one. Under attack? No, they're not under attack. There's no enemies in their realm, but the army is on the map board and can siege in the same area since it's somewhere where we're at war with somebody. So we're going to go to the siege action. So the siege action says, siege provinces up to 3 tax income, spend 1 bot power per tax income siege. And then there's some rules of preference. There's only 1 province to siege, so we're going to spend our 1 bot power. And Castile will now have successfully sieged up Navarra. When you see something, you get it in an unrest state to indicate that, you've just taken it by force. So the occupants are a little unhappy with you. So after the siege, that's it. Oh, actually, at war or provinces left to siege in this area or adjacent areas? No. So they're actually going to go ahead and remove their army. Actually, doesn't it say at war? At war or? Yeah, it says at war or. Okay, so they're still at war, so the army stays there. That's the Castilian turn. Over to England. They're not at war or anything, so they go through the standard flowchart. So we have diplomacy card. The diplomacy annex part, that's a little outdated. So they're just going to do the base diplomacy chart flow. There is only 1 diplomacy chart flow. If annex is appropriate, then we do annex. The other one is alliance. So this says, do we have an alliance and a marriage with any NPR? They do, actually. Portugal. I think England's the only faction in the game that starts with this, but they have an alliance and marriage with Portugal. This is interesting here. So they say yes. Has higher tax income than the NPR. England's tax income, we can calculate quickly over here, is... Well, actually, it's a little... they have 6. This is the 12th spot, this is the 4th spot, so it's 16. Portugal is not that. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think I would forget anything. 6. So yeah, much higher. Has influence equal to or greater than the target's tax income. So that influence is referring to influence in Portuguese areas. So we see that has influence greater than or equal to the target's tax income. No, we only have 2 income in their areas. We do count the royal marriage as 1 free influence, essentially is what the royal marriage says. That's only 3, we do 6. So no, any free space in target's areas. So that refers to the fact that we can only have 5 max in an area. So there's 3 in Portugal itself, but there's, Macaronesia. I don't think I ever said that out loud. That's all free. They're also in northern Morocco. That's all free. So yeah, ton of free space. So we say yes. Add 2 influence in target's areas. Prefer target's capital. So their target's capital is here, and we're going to add that directly. So we're going to add 2 influence to Portugal itself. Okay, cool. Now what do we do? It says 2+ influence in an NPR and alliance possible. Well, we had 2+ influence, but alliance is not possible because we already have one, and there's no. Yeah, no, we already have an alliance, but because you can get to that point from different areas. So no, can't enter royal marriage. No, because we already have one. So if space, add 2 influence in other areas of target realm. So they have 2 other areas. So they have this one in northern Morocco. So this is one of those occasions when the AI does go alphabetically. So they go to Mac over northern Morocco. So we're going to put 2 more over here. Now, as you remember, they have a tax income of 6, so we can actually now hit 6 in their areas, which won't happen. So nothing happened right now, but well, actually, will it? Oh, maybe it will. Let's see what happens. Let's just keep going. So, can enter royal marriage? No. If space add 2, blah, 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 blah. Did it have 4+ bot power left? Yeah, we do. We got 4. So, we're going to go to the diplomatic target chart for England. Alright, let's roll our dice here. I think it's got one over here. Well, we got a 4. We got Brittany. Interesting. Any free spaces in target's areas? Yeah. There's a bunch. Have influence less than target's tax income. Yeah. Spend 2 more bot power to add 2 influence in any of their areas. Wow. A lot of influence going down for England right now. So that might seem like a lot of influence to place at once. What do? They did 2 down here, 2 down here, 2 up here. So that's 6. So you start with 3. But we focus 2 military. We have 5 military power. This is most of their turn, honestly. So we could place 5. We could spend a couple of ducats. This alone is 21. So that would buy us 7 influence. So that alone, it seems like a lot, but really a player could do that as well. So it's actually totally within reason that they would do that. So that's England's turn. Jumping over. Now they actually almost had bot power, so they'll probably pass or take an event on the next. They'll definitely take an event on the next turn. So Austria, what does Austria do? Papal Curia. So they want to get on this papal action. So they're going to spend the 2 bot power. They're going to go over here. They're going to shift these down. Bummer for me. We've lost our cardinal. And we're going to replace that with an Austrian one. So Austria is now Austria has uncontested control since they're not tying. So that's going to give them some prestige in the end round. Now it's back to us. Oh, did I say we're going to go to war? Okay. Well, we'll do a recruit action here. We'll take a recruit. Oops. Take a recruit. We're probably not going to mercenary up. So what we'll do here. We've got 2 armies. So, this is where we gotta think. What are we gonna do? think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna buff up our main army up here. So we've already spent the 1. We'll build, I think, 2 more infantry. No, 3 more infantry. So that's 6. Put aside 6, and we'll get another cavalry for 5. And I said we want mercenary up, but we actually get a mercenary up. We'll just grab 4 for now. There's gonna be, I think, maybe it is actually. I can't remember. I think there's gonna be 25 of these in the final product of the game. Now, mercenaries they don't cost you any manpower, but they do cost 2 extra ducats on top of the base count, and they cost 2 at upkeep instead of 1. So it's going to be 4 for an infantry, 7 for a cavalry, and 8 for an artillery. That's quite a lot of money. Now, if we were really tryharding here, we would kind of like calculate what I think we were going to go with, but we're just going to kind of play this a little loose. So we're going to go with 2 infantry. We'll just kill those off because we just copy and paste stuff. So that's going to cost us another 8, since those are 4 each. So there goes our sweet treasury we built up, but we now have a pretty large army. Okay, that's my turn. Heading over to Castile, they go through. They are at war, but they're not going to get. I don't think they're going to get blocked on any of the earlier parts of the turn. Nope, they got power left. They're not under attack. They can't siege anymore. There's nothing more to siege. No colonists. Nope. Yes, so they're going to get back to their cards. So they go to the diplomacy flow. One interesting thing is you actually can't make an alliance while you're at war. So we'll have to keep that in mind for their diplomacy flow. Alright, alliance and a marriage within the NPR. They don't. They don't start with any marriages or alliances. Alliance within the NPR. No. None. Have 2+ influence in an NPR when an alliance possible. So they lost that influence that they had in Aragon. But they also would not be able to make an alliance because they're at war. So both of those are no. So we go to the diplomatic target chart for Castile, diplomacy, down here the bottom one. We roll our dice. We get 3, Aragon. So I think they're going to go back into Aragon with some influence here. So, already allied? No. Any free space in target areas? Yes, we're going to add 2 in their capital area, preferably. So we're going to add the 2 back in here. Where'd we go? Any free space? Yeah, add 2. 2+ influence in an NPR and alliance possible? Nope. Can enter royal marriage though? Yes. So on a 1, 2, 3, we just add more influence on a 4, 5, 6 royal marriage. Yeah. So we're just gonna go to that no there on, or the left path. If space, add 2+ influence in other areas of target realm. So. Yeah, so we can place area influence in Corsica and Sardinia or Sicily because we have influence in the central Italy and Lombardy adjacent areas. Because as you notice, Castile isn't actually adjacent. Although we had a province here, so this would have been adjacent to Corsica and Sardinia anyway. So this will be another situation where the AI uses alphabetical to choose an area. Corsica and Sardinia is first, so we're going to add 2 more influence in Corsica and Sardinia. Okay, have 4+ bot power left. Yeah, again, we do. So we're going to roll again on this target chart to see where else we're going to put some influence. 2. Same realm again. Roll for target. Re-roll if same target as previous. Okay, it does say that. So we're going to roll again. 6. What am I thinking? So that was a re-roll. That wasn't us rolling again from the Aragon route. That we actually just straight up re-rolling. So we got Portugal. Yeah, Portugal was a valid target. So any free space in target areas. Yeah, not in Portugal itself, but these 2 expansion areas. Oops, sorry. So we're gonna have has influence. No, we don't. We only have 1 influence in Portuguese areas. Oh no, it has influence less than target. Yes. So spend 2 BP more, and then we're gonna put some influence there. So again, a lot of influencing, and a lot of really big influence actions coming out from the boss this round. So we'll put again, they're gonna kind of compete down here in Macaronesia for Portuguese influence. It's kind of funny. Okay, back to England. England is going to get to that, you know, has more spent BP than available BP. Yeah, in here. So they say, over here, at war? They're not at war. Has picked event? No. So they're going to go to event. They say, already taken event action. Nope. We're going to roll a dice. We'll reconsult that chat. We got a 1. It's kind of a questionable roll. But we got a 1. Pick the leftmost revealed event. That is revolts. That's going to be annoying. I think they're going to annoy me. Is this an opponent event? No, it's just a general event. So trigger option A on event. So I'm going to put the little England symbol here. And then we're going to... Or you can do it that way, or you can just kind of take the event away yourself and then put the symbol here. I'm kind of used to doing it this way. So I wonder if some of the bot events have specific... You know, a lot of events have specific rules if the bot takes them. Yeah, like revolts. Same as heretics, except no diverse. So what does heretics do? Bots alphabetically select area adjacent to own realm, which contains opponent towns. Place diverse faiths token and add unrest to 2 towns. So they're going to select an area alphabetically to an opponent. And I think they prioritize me. But this is an area. Okay, let's see. Let's see again here. Alphabetically select area adjacent to own realm, which contains opponent's towns. No effect to own areas. There's no effect to own areas, so they wouldn't choose Aquitaine, which is I think the only other A area that contains my towns. But Aragon also is already maxed out on unrest. This is an interesting case here. Select area adjacent to own realm, which contains opponent's towns. Oh, it is. Oh, we're not doing that. The unrest though. So I don't think they choose Aquitaine because it's their own area. Wait, it contains my towns, but it's also theirs. We both own this area. It's kind of interesting. So Seine, Brittany and Normandy. No, that's not. No opponent towns there. Castile and adjacent to Leon. They're adjacent to Leon and Languedoc, but Languedoc they'll do it first there. So yeah, I believe they choose Languedoc. Which is, I was kind of trying to weasel my way into hoping they're going to choose Castile there, but they're not going to. So they're going to place diverse faiths token and add unrest into 2 towns. Very sad. So we're going to get this unrest token or religious diverse faiths. We'll put that on that. And they're going to add unrest to 2 towns. We only have 2. So they're going to put those 2 in unrest. Very uncool, Mr. England. And then this symbol here, at the bottom of the event, you resolve all the text, the top section on an event, and then afterwards you resolve these little side effects at the bottom. We're going to do our little event track update there. So that a rebel flag in the bottom left means we have to roll for any unrest that everyone has. So I have 2 unrest now, thanks to our very cool England bot here. So we're gonna roll 2 unrest dice. Hopefully we don't get something. Okay, that's not great. So this one is remove unrest. So we'll choose this one. Doesn't really matter. I guess the bot province is the port province is a little more important. And this one is rebellion result. So that means that if we had an army here or any military units, it would spawn 1 rebel unit and then we would fight the rebel unit. But since we don't, this actually gets taken over by rebels. So we now lose control of this area. We're going to take a little marker and we're going to put this on a little track here to indicate that we don't have that. So we're going to have to siege this back now, which has kind of thrown our war into question now. Because now do we kind of prioritize taking this back or do we take that back? Frustrating, to say the least. And then the other action you'll see is a plus icon for ill health. So do we have any plus icon? We do. Thomas has received ill health. So he's getting closer to the grave. So that was England's turn. Yeah. They get to, they don't follow the event exactly, they follow closer to here, which was following heretics. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, we didn't do heretics, did we? We did revolts. So we actually don't place that. Okay, that's not as bad. We just get the unrest. That's better. Because that's actually quite annoying, because converting an area is a pain. Because I would have to retake that area from the bot, and then, yeah. That's good. That's good. Okay, back over to Austria. They're equal. So they actually keep going if they're equal on bot power remaining versus spent. So they say, okay, go, focus. So this is a focus action. They can't convert. All of their areas are already Catholic. So they say, I'm focusing on warfare now. So that the way the bots score milestones is once they get 2 cubes in one of the focus areas, they remove both of those and then they score the appropriate milestone. So if Austria gets another focus action, no matter what the type it says on there, since they already have a focus, it will go into warfare. So they'd have 2, so they would then score this warfare action. And then we would go kind of into the focus chart. We actually just go to the focus chart here. That makes a lot more sense. The focus action, you'll see that, they have potential to get bot power back and prestige the same way a player would score prestige. And that's kind of based on what focus they're scoring, if there's a milestone matching, and then the order in which, they're scoring in front of other people. So that's actually the kind of one we were going for. So it's important that we score that before Austria, because, if we score it first, we get 5, they get 3. If we score it second, they get 5, we get 3. So that's actually a 4 victory point swing between the two of us. That's kind of important. I get that first. So that's the Austrian turn. Back to us. I don't know if this is a good idea, but we're going to do it anyway for fun here as we approach the end. We're going to declare war on this English player who's kind of annoying us. So we're going to take our respective war tokens. I put mine on London. He puts his on Paris. Now we check if there's any immediate war, any immediate battle out of there. I don't have... Now, for against an NPR, this would cause a battle since we have guys in their area. But we're not in the same area as their armies or their military units. Our ships aren't in the same area as their ships, so there's no immediate battle. So we get to do an army activation for free here. When you declare war on a faction, actually, they get a bot power. Or they get a military power normally, but as a bot gets a bot power. So that way you can't you can't wait until someone's out of military power and then just attack them and then they can't do anything about it. What are we going to do? Let's just move our army into Brittany and Normandy here. We could also move 2 down into Loire and pick up this guy, so that we're not spread out, and take Bordeaux instead. I actually like that a bit more. So we're going to march down into Aquitaine, and we're going to pull this guy off the board and kind of merge these 2 armies into one. So we got a pretty big old army here. And that's the end. Well, we could siege Seoul. We'll hold that. We'll hold that. Or will we? Or will we, viewer? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Well, for now, no. Well, we're not going to do it. Okay. So Castile, they say, oh, I've got more bot power spent. So they're going to go to that event stage. And event. So it'll be easier once you have it in kind of a hard copy in front of you, since you don't have to scroll all the way through it. I do kind of know the event off the top of my head, but it's good to show it. So event already taken. Nope. We're going to roll for Castile. Get 3. Pick rightmost revealed event. Now you do see that there are options to kind of like 4, 5, or 6. Like half the time they're just going to do it based on like, oh, is an opponent one there, is one of mine one there, and they're going to choose based off of that. But they're actually going to be choosing the rightmost event. Unhappy peasants. Okay. Kind of, I don't think this is going to, I think this is also going to annoy us here. So again, we're going to put some more money on these. Flip the last one. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of the bots are special for, what was that, those unhappy peasants, I think it was called? Yeah, unhappy peasants. Do they have a special rule for this one? I don't think so, actually. There is a combat-sided event for any of the Paradox fans out there. Lose stability. Standard stuff. No, okay, they actually don't have it. Which is actually surprising to me, because they don't have money. Okay. But it does say for event actions, Is this an event? No. Trigger option A on event. So they say, we rule as we see fit. Gain 1 prestige and lose 1 stability. So we'll do. Castile's obviously going to do it. So they choose the A. They say, oh, give me 1 prestige, and they lose 1 stability. So I think it says here, whenever instructed to, instead of losing stability, gain 1 unrest. So they would gain 1 unrest somewhere instead. So as a bot, they want to prioritize negative effects on their smaller towns. And we go alphabetically to Badalhof, I believe. Yeah, so we'll push that in unrest. And then they would choose an opponent. This is another player, but I believe that should be another opponent. But I'm pretty sure they prioritize a player over a bot in this scenario. So they're going to choose me. So I get to choose a. Do I want to gain 1 prestige and lose a stability, or do I want to gain 5 ducats? Or add unrest in place of unrest somewhere. You know, we're actually going to go with B here. We're going to gain 5 ducats. And my reasoning for this is, we're going to add unrest down here in Montpellier, and add a rebel here. Rebel. Oh, no, actually. No. That's the big dumb. We'll do it here. No, we'll choose El Ponto. So this would immediately trigger a battle. Well, I'm not even. I'll say Charles VII is actually acting as a general. I think there's going to be a special token for this, but for now we just put the royal marriage token here. He's also a general now. So the rebels, they roll 3. The standard is stock white 3 dice. I roll 3 white dice, the standard, and then Charles VII also gives me 3 white dice, so I got 6 white dice. So I just roll those up. Rebels roll those up. I got 5 infantry hits. They got 3 hits, but they only have 1 infantry, so they just get 1 infantry hit. So we're gonna. Oh no, one of our mercenaries. Oh no. I think there's gonna be some rules on when you can assign hits to mercenaries. You can't just like meat shield them, but none for now. Then the rebel dice. I was originally thinking that since we already have unrest here, it might make sense to just put them both in Languedoc, since we have to come down there to deal with it anyway. But this way, I can kind of just kill the guy as we go, and I'll be able to remove the unrest from Aquitaine by purging this claim on the peace stage. So it's actually a better play. Normally, you get a military power when you win the battle, but only on your turn. So since that was Castile's turn, we don't get it. Then that bottom left token on this one, that is lost at sea. So that's kind of like a disincontinence one. Or if you have ships at a long distance, you could lose your ships essentially. But that doesn't apply here, so we're going to continue on. Back to England. Now England is now at war. So this is going to be totally different. So they say, ball power left is 0. No, I think they have 3 left, something like that. Yep, 3. Under attack, enemies within own realm. Yes. So Aquitaine counts as part of their realm, and I am inside of it. So yes, go to defend. So spend. It says go to defend. Spend 1 bot power. So we're gonna spend 1 bot power. Then we're gonna go find defend. Oh, it's right there. Defend. Enemy units inside own realm. Yes. Has 4+ bot power. No, we do not. Army size is greater than or equal to any invading enemy force. The army size is only 2 at the moment, so that's definitely not true. Because we only had that 1 army because we merged them together. But if we'd left that one army, then that would actually been true. So this would have gone a totally different way if we'd done that. So no has 4 power left. Nope. Army deployed in an area where it can siege. Nope. If army is less than 3 units, yes. I think it's 2. We just said increase army size to 3. They only have 1 type. They basically only have infantry to worry about. So they're up to 3. Any area with own province occupied by enemies. No, not yet. Place army in closest hostile area with no enemy units. Prefer area with highest enemy tax income. That's going to be kind of annoying, actually. For place army in closest hostile area. No enemy units. I think they're gonna send their army over into the Seine here, because this is a bigger. This is hostile units. Could they get? Oh no, they can get here too. They can get to the Loire. Yeah, because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against 4. So this guy's just gonna fucking sneak past me here into the Loire area, which is somewhat annoying because now I stay here to siege. They're gonna siege me up. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Okay, we'll have to deal with that on our turn. Austria, they're going to take an event because they have more spent than available. We're going to roll 6. I believe that means they take their own event. We're going to double check that though. Of course. 6 is, nope, opponent event revealed. Yes. Pick event of opponent who is leading on the prestige track. There's only one opponent event, so it's Castile. So they don't actually claim these 2 ducats. There might be a rule later on added. I'm not sure. It would kind of make sense where they kind of get bought power based on the number of coins on the event. But they're mean. They say, I don't want you to have that opponent event. I'll trigger option B. So marry local nobleman instead for Castile. So Austria gains 1 diplomatic power. That gets translated into 1 bought power. So they're going to gain 1 bought power. Castile loses 1 prestige, so that 1 prestige that they had is now gone. They gain a stability, so that means they get to remove an unrest, and that goes to Badajoz alphabetically. And must discard 2 influence from Aragon. So there, that influence that's coming on and off. I tell you. There you go. So that's their turn. Yeah, that's my turn. So as we said, we have a tough choice of if we. So on the English turn, it's good to kind of figure out what they'll do, and I believe that they will probably siege us up here. We'll double check this one because this is quite important. So we would go to defend, where they would spend 1, so they'd be down to 1 bot power. Enemy units inside own realm, yes. Has 4+ bot. And army in area can siege. No, not and. Army is greater than or equal to no. Has 4 bot power, but no. Army can siege in an area where it can siege. Yeah, so yes. So they would siege up 1 province where they have 1 bot power. So they would siege up Berry. They would siege up Berry on their turn, which would be frustrating. But if we go back here, then that's kind of annoying for us. We could split the army. We could send off some troops and to go knock them out. That might be a good idea. Because that would still then leave enough to siege down Bordeaux later. Yeah, I think we'll do that. I think we'll split off here. So we're gonna create army 2 here, from here. Then no, we'll bring the mercenaries, the cavalry, because they're not going to be useful in the siege. Then we'll leave. How many guys do they have? They have 3 guys. We'll leave. No, we only need 2. We only need 2 siege power over there, so we'll be. But they could come back in. Is the thing. They can come back in on their turn potentially. So they have 3 guys. We have a good general. We might do something like this. 5. We just need to win the battle. Yeah, we just need to win. So we'll do this. So we're going to go in. Okay, so the bot is going to roll there. The bot against a player will roll 5 white dice. We have 6. What a white dice here. We got Charles VII. Yeah, so we're just going to roll up here. I got... Ooh, that's not... Oh, wait, no. We just needed 3, right? So that's, yeah, 2 infantry hits and a cavalry hit. So perfect. We actually got just barely enough to wipe them out here. This is a miss. This is a cavalry attack. We actually got two of these symbols. Normally, that would actually mean that we place a ill health token on the leader of their force. They don't have generals. But if they get that against us, then for instance, we would actually take no health token on our king, which would be annoying. That's kind of one of the risks of putting your general in the battle. And I'm actually pretty sure the bot only hits on infantry results. So that was actually a pretty fortunate battle there for us. I'm like 95% certain I'm correct here, but I want to go to that section for you guys regardless. Yeah, so land battles. Land battles responds when bots face opponents in battle. The normal battle sequence is followed. Bots always roll 5 infantry dice. Bots never use multi cards. Count all of a bot's units as infantry. Yeah, so they only got 1 hit. Nice, so we just kill off our mercenary here. And this guy's sim packing. These 3 guys are returned to the manpower. And we gain a military power for winning the battle. Oh, I don't think we actually spent anything to activate that army. Because we started with 5, we recruited, we were at 4, we moved, we were at 3. Yeah, we were at 5, we recruited down to 4, we declared war and moved for 3. Yeah, so we should have spent 1 more and then we should have gotten 1 back. So we should be back to 3. Castile. I believe gonna pass. Under attack? No. Army on board? Nope. Colonist? Nope. Spent? Yes. Has at war? Nope. So they have picked an event? Yes. Pass. So Castile is the first to pass. Oh, we actually didn't update that, did we? So they're gonna gain, for a bot to do it, they gain 2 bot power next. So they're gonna gain. We're just gonna store what they're gonna get. Well, actually, no, we do now. So they get 2 bot power. We're gonna take this off. Indicate that, remember that they've passed. Okay, so that's that. England, what do you do about it here? Yeah, they're gonna go to defend still. With their 1 bot power left. We're kind of lucky. We're kind of like picking these. We're kind of like invading England as they're very low on bot power. Bots typically have less resources, less bot power on the first turn. They're gonna do on subsequent turns. Generally, you're not going to be fighting an opponent, a bot, on the first turn, but we were kind of just doing it for fun to see how well it's going to go. It's actually going kind of well for us so far. So, enemy distance I don't realm, yes. Nope. Army gonna, nope. They don't have an army. 4+ bot power, nope. Army deployed in there, nope. If army is greater than, if that's 3 units, increase army size to 3 units. So they do that again. So they recruit back up to 3. Recruit back up to 3. Any area with owned provinces occupied by enemies. Nope, still no. So they're actually going to go again in closest hostile area with no units. So they're going to recruit another little measly force and they're going to send it to the Seine. But critically, on their next turn, they're going to hit defend and they're going to spend their only bot power, so they actually won't be able to afford anything to siege. So it's actually not imperative that we knock those guys out. Okay, then Austria, since they got that bot power from the event, they can actually take another turn here. Since they're not greater than here. So they got another focus. Good for them. So they get 2 in warfare, which is what they wanted. Oh, that's unfortunate for us too here. So they're going to score this first milestone. They get 5 prestige. Austria taking an early lead. Go to the focus action. To remember how much they gain from this. Because you see on that focus action, we'll take a look again, but for a player that would give us 5 ducats. For the bot, they gain 2 bot power and prestige is normal, so they're going to gain 2 bot power. They're going to remove this. Actually, so we can just basically just take those 2 back off. So they gain the 2 bot power, and that goes back to their pool. Bummer. Yeah, we wanted that one. So it's back to us. I'm going to spend 2 military power to siege Bordeaux. Yeah. So we take a big one. And we're going to put that here. So we've taken Bordeaux. Cool. I don't think we're going to have to take Brittany and Normandy this turn. Oh, maybe. Unless... Okay, I got an idea. This might work. This might be a genius move. They've passed, so we're going to skip right past them. England, we go through the same flow. We hit defend, but they're not going to have any I'm not gonna have anything to siege with, so let's see what happens here. I don't think I think that's correct. Okay. Yeah, under attack. Enemies are still within their own realm, so we spend and we go to defend. Yes. No. 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 Armenia played in an area where it can siege provinces. They can't afford to siege provinces, though. So what would they do if it was a no? That would stay there. I would just go to the end. But siege is also going to be the same. I think either way, they actually don't do anything here. Yeah, siege provinces up to 3 tax income, spend 1 per tax income sieged. Yeah, I think they can't really do anything. They were too unprepared for this war. Caught them off guard. Back to Austria. We're still going here. Event. They already have an event. So I think we just redraw. Let's see. Event already taken. Yeah. Discard event bot card. Go back to main turn structure. Oh, they go back to main turn structure, which would loop us back through to another card. So they got unrest. Or the other. Wait, did we get focus war the first time? No, we did. Yeah. Interesting. So they don't have any unrest. So they're actually going to focus warfare again. Now, you'll notice that they've already scored the warfare milestone. They can do it again, but they're just going to get free prestige and nothing else. So it's not a little unfortunate that they got the warfare one there. Okay, so here's my scheme now. So we're going to take this guy over here. We're going to take... Ooh, is it better for us to do the top one or border friction? So we have. I want to get one more military power. I could do it with this event, or I could do it with this event. This would allow me to get another claim, but lose 3 different things. I think we could gain that to get a claim somewhere we lose anything. So we would avoid giving Austria prestige when they're already ahead and a claim, but we get 6 ducats. So it's like, oof, we gotta weigh this up basically. With what we think is better. 6 ducats. 6 ducats for 1 victory point, I think is worth it. Who knows? Might get some disagreements on that one. That's a close question though. So we'll take that. We're not going to bother adding money to this one because this is the last event being taken. So Austria gains a prestige and a claim there. So Austria. Again, this would be a numbered claim. We're not going to bother with it for right now though. Yeah, we'll push by there. Was it a negative prestige? And I gain military power, which is what we want. We want to have 2. Castile passed. England passes. Yeah, England passes. They're the second to pass. They're out of bot power, so they're always going to pass. And they've taken the event, so they pass. So they get 1 bot power for this. We'll take this off, just to remember. Then Austria. Austria's still going. They're going to convert, or Papal Curia. Ooh, I think no, what they're going to do. So they're going to Papal Curia. But they already have control, don't they? Yeah. So if they do a papal action, when they already have control. Yeah. Catholic has uncontested control of the paper. Yeah. H1 or 2. Yeah. Adjacent to Muslim realm? Now, you might be thinking, hold on, Venetia is maybe adjacent to the Ottomans? But I think this is going to change. This is going to be cleared up. These 2 areas aren't actually adjacent, even though it's touched by the same sea zone. It has to touch a port. I think this is going to get looked at, but for now, these areas are not adjacent, so they're actually not adjacent to any Muslim realm, which is a bummer. I would have loved for them to go, because I know what they're going to do, I think. So no, anti-Catholic opponents, yes. Excommunicate opponent's ruler. Prefer realm at war with bot. Nah, there's no realm with them. So unfortunately, they choose a player over another bot, so they're gonna excommunicate me. I don't love it. I don't love it. That's kind of one of the tough parts about playing with all bots is that you're gonna find yourself focused a little more, you know, than you would normally do. But you know, you're against some bots, so that's just part of the difficulty. And I actually don't get excommunicated too often, so I don't 100% remember all of the effects of excommunication. I think it's like one of the last pages in here. I think it's like you have to remove influence from certain. I think you just remove. You lose some prestige and you lose some influence from Catholic areas. Yeah, excommunicate. Play realm. I lose prestige. I don't actually have any prestige, and you can't go negative. One cardinal, don't have any. Remove 4 influence from Catholic areas. That's kind of annoying. And everyone's gonna have a custom spell against me, so I have to remove 4 influence. I only have 4 influence. I guess they don't like my warmongering, I suppose, which is fair enough, but there goes all my influence. I'm doing so poorly on these other things that I didn't actually lose anything. Okay, that was kind of mean. So now, I'm going to spend 1 bot point, or sorry, 1 military power to activate this army. We're going to move it up here, and then we're going to play Siege Assault, play following an activation, yeah. It costs 1 military power, you see in the top left there. In the top left. So I have to spend another one to play that, so we got none left. And it says, this army may immediately siege a number of provinces up to its siege strength at no extra military cost. So my siege strength would be 1, 2, 3.5, 3.5. Roll infantry dice equal to tax income of provinces sieged and take a casualty for each infantry result. At least 1 unit must remain for your sieges to succeed. So we're going to try to siege all 3 of these guys. So we're going to roll 3 infantry dice here. Hoping that the dice gods favor me. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So we take 1 casualty. Then it succeeds. So wow, this has been pretty cool, man. This war's paying off for us. We'll see if we can hold any of this in the rebel phase, but it's going pretty well. Cool, very cool. Passed. Austria. Yep, this now exceeds. Spent more than they got, and they're not at war, so they pass. So at this point, 3 players have passed. I am now forced to take 1 more action and then pass. If I haven't taken an event yet, then that has to be that. Then that turn is spent taking an event and then passing. But we already have an event, so we get 1 more action here. I don't know. I don't know. What are we gonna do? This is stuck, you know. Cheeky trade? I think we just do a cheeky trade here. See what we get. Maybe get some extra money. Some other stuff we can do. Oh, dude, I'm getting some great trade rolls here, man. Some great trade rolls. But this is kind of handy because if I can use any of these, then I can always get just 2 income. But we got real lucky here, guys. France isn't exactly a trade powerhouse to start, but it definitely seems that way. So we can get to Genoa or Bordeaux, so we can actually move this guy between them since it's our trade action. I can activate Genoa because it's adjacent to ships to the sea zone. So Genoa would get us. Don't control Genoa. Don't control Rome. Do control Lyonnais. Don't control Avignon. So it would be 1 for the ship, 2 for the merchant, 3 for Lyonnais. So that would give us 3. So that would give us 12 ducats. That's going to be the better one. This can't even get up to 12. But you see that's Bordeaux when we do the sea zones. Oh wait, no, that's Bordeaux. Yeah, we do the sea zones. We could do it over here, but this is going to be better. Tell you what, guys. If you're playing France and you take 2 trade actions, turn 1, you're not going to get 22 ducats ever. This has been very good for us. This is probably one of the best round ones I've ever had against bots. So we just got 12 ducats here, boys. And there's no one's even adjacent to this, so no one else gets anything. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Look how much money I have. We have 15, 21, 25 ducats. And we're at war. That's great. That's great. Okay, yeah, bragging aside, that's it. That's the end of the round. These guys have passed. I would pass when it comes back to me. That's it. That's it. Done. So now we're going to move on. Peace and Rebels. Remove all truce tokens from the board. There's none. Invasions. So an invasion is if we're at war with an NPR and we don't have any troops in the NPR's areas. So let's say, you know, if I'm playing as a based Albania, and I'm gonna Skanderbeg it on round 1, and I go with my 1 tax income, I'm to declare war on Ottomans. I go in with my 1 guy, I lose somehow, which is, you know, because the Ottomans are probably cheating somehow with their Janissaries. They beat my 1 guy. So now we're at war. At the end of the step, we're now at war. I don't have any guys in their areas. So they trigger an invasion where basically they kind of choose one of my areas. They count up adjacent, you know, tax strength. So they would count up, I'm only in here, so they would count up strength in Greece, Macedonia, and Wallachia. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They don't have Constantinople yet, we'll say. And then they invade my area based on that strength. So they would probably see, I think, 3 guys come over, and they would probably kill me. And it would be bad. So that's what an invasion is. That doesn't happen here. You know, the only NPR that's being at war is Navarra, and Castile is in there, so doesn't happen. What are we on? Okay, next step. Rebel units siege provinces. So that is when, if we have a rebel unit, like we saw get placed down earlier from that event, if we have a rebel unit somewhere where there's unrest, those rebels then actually siege those provinces and kind of do what they did down to Toulouse down here, where they would take it over. But there are no circumstances where that applies. Peace resolution. Okay, peace resolution. This is something I should have planned for, but I think we're actually good. So in the rules, we'll go over the base rules here. Peace resolution, generally, basically the rule is if you fully occupy all their stuff, you defeat all the land units, which is what's going to happen on Castile's turn. You just annex them straight out. Now, against another player, generally you're going to have to come to terms with them, unless your deployed land units outnumber the deployed land units of the opponent 2-1. So basically, if you're kind of winning a war, you've taken some stuff, and your army is, you know, twice as big as his, you can actually force a peace treaty on someone to stop them from just being like, I don't want to make peace. I can still win, but they can't still win. You know, you can force a war to end. And similarly with a bot, your deployed land units outnumber the total number of rebel units in your areas and deployed enemy land units. So my army is actually 7, and the bot's army, conveniently, is 3. So I can actually force a peace here. I can force a partial victory on the bot. We're going to do conquest. First, return your opponent's enemy capital province. Don't have it, so it doesn't apply. But you may keep all other provinces that you have captured. We're going to do that. Yeah, we're just going to do that. We just win. We win, boys. We did it. We did it. I've done it. I beat them. I forced a peace treaty on them. France has, you know, crushed the English in a war. This army's going to dip on out of here, back to their play area. Yeah, cool. That went so much better than I thought it was going to do, to be honest. So the aftermath. Well, we'll finish. We'll do all of my war, and then we'll go resolve the Castilian one. So after peace has been declared, if you have claims in any area which you captured enemy provinces, you may remove unrest from 2 towns in that area by removing your claim token. You must remove claims from any areas where you own everything. So we're going to remove. So actually, well, yeah, first we take off these English provinces to say that, you know, these are now officially ours. You know, if I wasn't able to force peace here against the bot probably would have just kept going against us. I think. No, we don't have this. Where did this come from? Oh, that's from up here. The bot probably would have just kept going against us. Against a player, you know, you really kind of have to. You really have to play the diplomacy game, you know, because it's like they can keep the war going, but if you keep the war going at the end of the peace round, you're gonna have to add unrest to 2 of your own provinces. Wars are expensive. You know, if you let these things drag on for 2, even 3 rounds with another player, that's going to take its toll big time. So, as an aggressive player, you really want to be able to put yourself in a position where you can force a peace treaty on the other guy. at the end of the round, you know, go Napoleonic, you know, and go seek out the enemy's army and crush it, or, you know, occupy so much of it that if they don't make peace, that it's going to kind of ruin them. Or, you know, you can play diplomatic. You can offer things in the war. You can say, well, you know, you give me these, what I've taken here, I'll compensate you with some money maybe, or, you know, maybe even an overseas holding. You know, if we go late in the game, you know, it's like, well, Austria's, you know, like French, maybe the French give the Austrians Venice, which, you know, they control, to the Austrians in exchange for, you know, Austrian ceding control in Lombardy, which, you know, might sound familiar to some people. But yeah, we've crushed these plots. We're gonna remove our claim here, which was our plan. So we now have no unrest here. That's kind of great. And then we are gonna remove our claim here. We don't have to. We could save it and then use it as a pretext to also attack Normandy, but we're not. We're just gonna choose two of these at random. Actually, we'll choose the we'll choose port ones. And that's our war. It went really well. Very happy with that. Then we go over to Castile. Castile does theirs. Yeah, we just kind of take that war. Since Navarre doesn't exist anymore, there's no truce with them. And I believe they do some special stuff here where they actually get some bonus rewards for conquering things. Since they don't have like missions that reward them for taking certain areas, they just get more. Yeah, so captured all provinces, destroyed all armies of the enemy. Yeah, gain prestige equal to enemy's original tax income 1. So Castile's back on the board. Big old 1. So then they go around, all the way around to remove bot's claim from area. They don't have one, I think, right? Oh, I think we missed a step, boys, actually. I think they should have made it. I think I said it, I didn't do it. They should have placed a claim in this area when they marched in. So we actually didn't do that. Kind of derped. Remove bot's claim. Will they own all provinces? No. No, so they don't own all provinces. That stays there. This comes off. Austria's on the war. So that's peace. That is the peace done. Stability and unrest. So that's where we would add unrest from the stability level or religious dissent or ongoing wars. You see, like this would remove unrest. This would add any. I'm at 0. There's no ongoing wars. There's no religion. Oh, actually, no, there is religious unrest down here in Andalusia. So it's a negative effect. So Castile prioritizes Cordoba. This is Catholic, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, nothing Austrian is unresty. Nothing I have is an unrest. Nothing England has. Nope, so that's that. Then we do rebel dice for unrest. So I have 1 rebel dice here. We're gonna roll this, and hopefully we don't get a rebellion result. I'll be quite upset if we get a rebellion result. Okay, good, thank God. So we lose 2 ducats. Rebellion would have been awkward because it's an English province, so it goes back to English control. Like English partisans basically come in and they take control back, and then we have an awkward decision of whether we want to go back to war or not for it. I think this was supposed to be discarded. So we just lost some money. Yeah, Spanish. The bots do roll rebel dice just like us. They got rebels. Yeah, looks like we got some rebels taking over down here in Andalusia. Discontented. England, no unrest. Austria, no unrest. Okay, cool, done. Fire advisors, disband military units, and recall ships at sea. Do we want to? We probably. This is a good question actually. We want to disband our military units. I think we probably. We have tons of money. There's no real. 2 ships at sea that cost 1, so we're down to 13. Advisors upkeep. These guys are 2 each, so we're down to 9. Interest on loans, we have none. Subtract or add for stability, nothing. So 9. We're gonna gain another 9 here, guys. We are rich. This is crazy. This is one of the best rounds I've ever had as friends. Collect bonus points, but we do kind of. This is where it gets a little rougher. So we're gonna gain 5 administrative power. Ding, ding, ding. Wow. We gain a sick 1 diplomatic power. We're being very, very bellicose here as the French, which maybe is appropriate. No offense to any French people. Update and refresh manpower. Yeah, we got our 1 manpower back. Merchants, yeah, our merchants go back standing up. They are refreshed. Discard down to my hard size of 5. Nope. And we would actually have done this right after the Peace and Rebels phase, I guess. Depends on, we can do this whenever. We'll do it right now for simplicity, though. We're going to complete our 2 missions. We're going to say, I've done these 2 missions. I score 3 for this one, 2 for this one. Because usually it's reclaim Bordeaux and Maine, Normandy and Co. Bordeaux, Maine, Normandy and Co. Then all 4. So we gain 5. And we're going to gain a claim in Languedoc and draw any 2 action cards and keep 1. So our claim in Languedoc, which I totally know where that is. Yeah, it's down here. And any 2 action cards. I don't know. I feel like we definitely need some diplomatic advisors here, guys. We got some cheap ones, so that's not the best result. I don't like getting unrested by the AI, so we're gonna keep. So basically, there's a lot of like covert actions. Like when they add unrest in a spy action, you can counter that with a counter espionage card, which can be handy. So that's it. That's the end of the round. For the bots, we do some cleanup. We're playing on a hard difficulty mode, so they actually gain 9 bot power here. So now you see that really the first round is kind of where the bots are lowest in power. When they're starting 9 here. I think England is actually going to be, England is actually only starting at 10. They had a rough round, very expensive round. Austria's going to gain quite a bit though. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But they gain 1 extra bot power. They gain a diplomatic power because they're the Papal Curia controller. So they gain 10. And they gain an extra cube for being the Imperial Emperor. So they gain 11. They're doing pretty good. So as the French here, we've dealt a big blow to the English, but the Austrians they're pretty strong. They got to be our primary focus going forward. Or at least they would be. And then as the bots, you would also kind of fix up their decks here. You never reshuffle in their focus cards. So we're going to take out any focus cards that they played. Those guys are on until we kind of reshuffle their whole deck if we get to that. The event card always goes back in. And then the rest we will shuffle back in half rounded up. So that one's gone. Events always go back in. Put these guys up. Boop. And there's their deck for the next round. Do the same thing over here so you can see it. While I play 2 cards, we really kind of messed the English up this round. So one of those gets removed. We don't know which one. Castilians, same. Because they kind of did an expensive diplomacy, and then they were kind of dealing with their own war for the rest of it. So it'll be interesting to see if that was the military one or the diplomatic one. Oh, and we actually missed this. Player would have caught this, but we actually did get our Conquer Enemy Lands one. Because we successfully, we sieged these 3 actually on the same round, so we would have gotten our 3 prestige. Oh, so we actually see now we're behind Austria because we got that one second. And we actually get another 5 ducats. Dude, we're so rich. Crazy rich. 37 ducats at the end of the first round. That is bonkers. That is bonkers, guys. And yeah, there you have it. This is kind of a sample round 1 of playing this scenario with 3 bots. We kind of went out there. We were playing pretty aggressively. It definitely paid off for us. This isn't the hardest difficulty mode. The difficulty mode is essentially control how much bot power they get per round. Yeah, but I think going forward, we would kind of have to worry about Austria getting a little too powerful. They didn't accomplish a ton this round. Aragon as well didn't accomplish a ton, or Castile didn't accomplish a ton. They didn't get the Union. So at the start of the next round, we would deal out 5 more events, flip 3 of them up. We would go through card draw, paying for our new cards. We would probably keep all 3 of them, paying the 6 because we're rich. And then we'd have to reevaluate. Do we want to go exploring? Do we want to start maybe trying to expand diplomatically into northern Italy? Kind of, get a little close to Austria here, maybe pull some shenanigans. But as you see, there's a ton of options. I could do so much. You know, this is a scenario where we're playing against 3 bots as France. I've played one where I made a makeshift Byzantium against a bot Ottomans with some other bots nearby, and that's a completely different game, as I'm sure you can imagine. You're very small, so you have to really rely on your allies. You know, going in on these all-in, loan up, and get some mercenary strategies. It's very similar to the board game, or, you know, if you're playing as, you know, you're up here in Sweden, and you got a bot Denmark and a bot Novgorod, Muscovy. It's just completely different, so you can definitely just see how, depending on who you play as, what bots you put in, what if you're starting in 1444, 1618, you know, what ideas come up, what milestones come up, what order the events come up in. It's so variable in terms of what can happen, and I know it kind of did seem, it definitely did seem like I kind of steamrolled the bot here. That is not my experience. Generally, this has been the best I think I've ever done against a bot, just trying to go at full aggro like this before. Generally, it doesn't go so well. Generally, the bot is pretty good at fighting in a direct confrontation. Although France, I definitely would say, has the upper hand at the start of the game. Yeah, this is a great round one for me. But, you know, yeah, I think this is kind of giving you a good overview of how the bots work. They cycle through these events. They cycle through these bot deck rather. They consult their charts, which are customized for each faction. If we did get to H2, then we would kind of rebuild their deck there on the left. Take out, like, you know, card number 5, put 6 in instead. For instance, you'll see that, you know, the cards have a. I wouldn't let me flip that one. So you have a 7 at the bottom, so that's about card number 7. Where they change, they adapt to the age. You know, England is going to be a tough spot here. They might just abandon the new, or they might abandon the old world at this point, maybe vassalize Portugal on their next turn, maybe pick up quests for the new world, go explore the new world, get victory points out there. You really don't know, and that's one of the great things about the bots. They can kind of surprise you, catch you unaware. You know, who knows, what if, you know, what if I wasn't able to end this war, so I thought, well, I have so much money that I can keep going with this war. I can take these areas if I hadn't gotten them from England next round. But then, you know, maybe Castile, they come in on me, you know, and then I'm still excommunicated, so maybe that could cause problem. You know, that would have given them a casus belli against me, so they would have been able to come in against me with that. Yeah, it could just go so many ways. So a lot of fun. Hope you've enjoyed this demonstration. Hope it's gotten you excited to kind of just play this even by yourself against bots. I can tell you it's a ton of fun. I was going pretty slow because I was walking through everything. Going over to the tablets when, you know, it's much faster to do that by yourself, explaining, walking through the charts. I did the whole spiel at the start with explaining how the bots work. It does go a lot faster. I could have done, I think, this whole round by myself without kind of talking through it in about 20 to 30 minutes. I think. I've played quite a few games now. Well, I've been playing for over a year now, but I think I can do a round. I could have done that round in 20 to 30 minutes. So you can see how, you know, if I was doing an 8-round game, the latter rounds will be a bit longer, but you can really kind of get a nice game in against some bots in this scenario in, you know, 3 hours or so, 3-4 hours. If my math is accurate there. Yeah. This is a great game session length. You can make it a lot longer. You can do, you know, you can do 4 ages, the whole thing with 6 bots, add in some other mechanics like dynamic NPRs, you know, which are these kind of symbols that come out to represent growing natural powers. Actually, one thing we did forget to do is at the end of a round, the kind of events, the symbols down here on the untaken events still go through. So we do another Lost at Sea. Yeah, the dynamic NPRs of green and orange would expand a little bit. So I think there is a card, for instance, that makes Portugal a dynamic NPR. They kind of colonize based on a certain event. It could be that the green emerges down here and then they start colonizing. So that kind of dynamically changes whether or not Portugal is really strong. There is an orange one later on. We chose not to have, this scenario doesn't have one starting out, but eventually you'll notice that we've got some Netherlands symbols back here. So eventually we'll see the Dutch rise up as the orange symbol. They'll take the position here. So if, you know, maybe we're doing a later start with the Dutch on the board, that orange one would cause them to expand. And, you know, as you can see, there's just so much you can do. You can mix in bots. You're gonna have bots really for. There's gonna be a ton of bots. I can actually just show you at the bottom here. All the bots, they're gonna have special rules for them, special flowcharts and compositions. There's all the ones we have shown here. France also has one. Muscovy has one at the moment done. All of these are getting their own ones. So that's quite a few here you can see. But you know, if you really, really want to, if you want to do some weird niche campaign where you're like, I want to play as, you know, Ulm, which there's actually a scenario of playing as Ulm, so that's not that outlandish. But you're like, I want to have a bot Frankfurt, a bot Nuremberg, Magdeburg. You just do like this weird like HRE bot Rumble dungeon. You can really throw together one of these, like a basic one that'll suffice quite quickly, and the system can adapt. You just need to make a little flowchart for their neighbors and kind of just use your, you know, just think about what would go in here. Would the Palatinate have some naval actions? Probably not. Maybe like one on the off chance that they expand up into Flanders, but you know. Yeah, so I hope, you know, if you have any questions or if you want to see more, swing by the Europa Universalis Spice Power Discord. There's a bunch going on there every day. It's a great community. I've been Patrick. Hope you've enjoyed this. Yeah. Thank you.